This episode is provided by Thomas Allgaier and Freenus, based on the most relevant LinkedIn posts about AI in B2B marketing in calendar weeks 03 and 04. Freenus is a B2B market research company helping enterprise marketing teams sharpen their strategies and outreach with customer segmentation, ideal customer profiles and deep dives, customer needs analyses, and buying center insights.
And sharpening strategies is definitely the theme today.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just step back and look at the posts from weeks 3 and 4, the whole conversation feels like it's fundamentally shifted.
It really does. It's like we've finally moved past the, hey, look what this chatbot can write for me phase. That feels like ancient history now.
Totally. The novelty's gone and, the operators moved in. We're not just chatting with bots anymore. The real focus is on deploying autonomous systems. It's much less about generation and way more about execution.
Execution,
Yeah.
That's the word. And looking at the source material for this deep dive, we're really seeing 3 big shifts. There's this rise of agentic workflows, which we need to unpack that term.
Oh.
Then there's this kind of terrifying concept called the gluttonous pipeline.
Right.
And finally, the thing no one wants to talk about, data infrastructure.
It really is the move from AI as a toy to AI as a coworker. And honestly, looking at the data, for some teams, it's a very expensive coworker that doesn't really know what it's doing yet. But for others, it is rewriting the entire go-to-market playbook.
Okay, so let's start with that first one. Agentic workflows. I think for a lot of people listening, the word agent just sounds like another fancy buzzword for a chatbot. What's the real difference?
It's a crucial difference. A chatbot, it just sits there. It waits for you to ask it something, then it gives an answer. It's totally reactive.
Okay.
An agent is proactive. You give it a goal, and it figures out the steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And to really illustrate this, we've got to look at a post from Jonathan M.K. He was talking with Danielle Sacker, who's the VP of GTM at Mind Studio.
Mind Studio, they're a big name in the custom AI space, right?
Exactly. And Sacker isn't just talking theory. She's running actual workflows that are automating what she calls the drudge work, the top 5% of research and prep that just burns out sales reps.
What does that actually look like, though? Because every sales tool out there claims it automates prep, but, it usually just spits out the company's About Us page.
This is different. She's talking about deep pitch optimization. Her agents are pulling live research on a prospect in real time, analyzing it against their value prop, and then outputting a tailored strategy. She's collapsing what used to be 3 hours of meeting prep.
3 hours?
Yeah, Googling the prospect, reading their 10K, checking LinkedIn, all of that. She's collapsing it into 2 minutes.
Wow, 3 hours to 2 minutes. That's a massive efficiency gain. You're literally giving a rep half their day back.
You are. And she's claiming it helps them close 3 times more deals. But it goes even deeper. They're even automating things like contract reviews. The agent scans the document and flags high-risk terms before a human lawyer even sees it.
So it's a filter. It's doing the reading so the human can just do the thinking.
Precisely. And this fits perfectly with something Isabella Bedoya wrote about Genspark. That's a Silicon Valley AI agent unicorn. Bedoya had this great line that really stuck with me.
What was it?
Most people use AI like Google. Smart people use it like employees.
Use it like employees. That's a really strong mental model. Break that down a bit for us.
Well, think about Google. You ask for info, you get a list of links, and then you have to do the work. If you use AI like an employee, you're assigning a job. Bedoya talks about this all-in-one workspace, where the AI isn't just answering a prompt. It's building a website, or running market research, or designing visuals. It's executing.
Okay, but this is where I start to get a little skeptical. We hear autonomous agents, and I just picture a manager pushing a button and then walking away to play golf. But that usually ends in disaster, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that's where Carolyn Healy comes in with a big necessary reality check. She points out that most marketing teams are just throwing agents at, say, content creation without any kind of map.
Without a map?
Yeah, without a process map. They just say, agent, write me a blog post.
Yeah.
That's way too vague. It's like telling an intern to go do marketing.
Yeah.
Healy says you have to map the workflow first. A content workflow isn't one step.
Right.
It's topic ID, then research, then a first draft, visuals, distribution.
So for every single one of those stages, you have to define the inputs, the outputs.
Exactly. And, crucially, the human checkpoints. The agent needs to know what done looks like for each step. If you don't have that process map, you don't have an agent. You just have a hallucination machine running at light speed. You're just automating chaos.
It's interesting you bring up structure, because looking at the notes, it seems like the European market is taking a slightly different angle on this.
They are. Michel Lieben pointed this out. He said if you look at European tools like ADIO, Apify or Lovable, they're not as obsessed with the generative stuff like writing poems or emails. They're focusing really heavily on data extraction and CRM population.
So less creative, more administrative.
More operational, it's less write me a LinkedIn post and more update these 500 CRM records based on this call transcript.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, in B2B, that's often where the real money is. It's all about data hygiene and accuracy. It sets the stage for everything else.
That makes a ton of sense. Reliability over just pure creativity. Now, speaking of reliability, or maybe the lack of it, we have to move to the second big theme. We've got these agents, and of course, people are pointing them at sales. We have to talk about the explosion of the AI SDR.
Oh, yeah. This was easily the most contentious topic in the source material this week. There's a real divide forming here.
I can see why. I mean, on one hand, you've got these incredible success stories. Ryan Teasel shared a case study about event lead follow-up that just sounds like a dream.
And that's a perfect use case for this, right? You go to a trade show, you scan 1,000 badges. Normally, a human rep cherry picks maybe the top 50 hot ones, and the rest just die in a spreadsheet.
Right. It's physically impossible for a human to follow up with everyone instantly.
Exactly. So Teasel used AI to work 100% of those leads immediately with personalization. And the result was a 352% increase in pipeline.
Which is an incredible number. So the argument there is pretty clear. Speed and volume win. If you can touch every single lead instantly, why wouldn't you?
In that very specific context, an event where people expect to follow up, yes. But there's a really dark side to this kind of scale when you apply it to cold outreach.
And this brings us to that term you mentioned, the gluttonous pipeline.
Exactly. This comes from Maximus Greenwald. He calls it the third deadly sin of AI marketing.
I love the biblical framing. So what exactly is a gluttonous pipeline?
It's the illusion of success through just raw volume. You're booking 30 meetings a week, so your dashboard looks amazing, but you only close one deal. You're just stuffing the funnel with more, but more isn't better. You're just burning through your addressable market way faster.
You're annoying 29 people just to get one customer.
Precisely. And you're wasting your sales team's time with 29 bad meetings. Greenwald says the whole shift needs to be from volume to scoring. Instead of using AI to blast everyone, use agents to rigorously rank leads by fit, so you only talk to the ones that actually matter.
And the stats that back this up they're pretty sobering. Mahesh Iyer shared a figure that really stood out to me. He called it the 0.3% problem.
That number should terrify any VP of sales. Iyer mentioned a company that had a 0.3% conversion rate from AI SDR outreach all the way to revenue.
That's statistically nothing. You might as well just be guessing.
You basically are. And Iyer explains why it happens. The AI targeting is, technically precise. It matches keywords, but it has zero judgment. It lacks the human nuance to understand context.
He had a pretty funny personal example of this, didn't he?
He did, and it's both hilarious and painful. An algorithm pitched him MediPCC sales training. Now, for anyone listening who doesn't know, MediPCC is a very specific high-level sales methodology.
And Mahesh Iyer is an expert in it.
He teaches it, but the AI just saw that he engaged with MediPCC content and said, aha, laid. It couldn't tell a seller from a buyer. Another one pitched him U.S.-only health plans when his profile clearly says he's in India.
That's just sloppy.
It's worse than sloppy. It's brand damaging. And when he called them on it, the response was, sorry, this is an AI. Iyer says that's not an excuse. That's a confession.
A confession of laziness, really? It's saying, we didn't care enough to check, so if the tools are this flawed, what's the fix? Do we just not use them?
Kuhnstam has a good take on this. The answer isn't don't use them, it's don't trust them blindly. He says, don't deploy tools, build systems.
Okay, what's the difference in this context?
Well, a system has boundaries. It has feedback loops. It means you define your ideal customer profile and your personas so rigorously that the AI can't really mess it up. And most importantly, you install daily feedback loops.
Meaning a human actually looks at what's going out the door.
Yes, you check the output daily. You catch those errors, like pitching the teacher before they multiply by 10,000. You can't just set it and forget it. You need a human in the loop.
It sounds like we're moving from AI as a magic wand to AI as high-maintenance intern.
That's a very good analogy. An intern with infinite energy, but zero common sense. Yeah. And if an intern has no common sense, it usually means they lack context. Which brings us right to our third theme.
Data integrity, the really unsexy plumbing of all this.
The foundation of the entire house. And Sheriff Shahen from Common Room really hit the nail on the head here. He says most teams are rushing to build all this AI on top of completely broken CRMs.
We've all heard garbage in, garbage out, but does AI change the stakes?
Shaheen argues it amplifies it. It doesn't just process bad data, it weaponizes it. So if you have duplicate contacts or old job titles, your AI will just confidently route leads to the wrong person and personalize messages with false info at a speed a human could never match.
So instead of sending one bad email a day, you're sending 1,000 an hour.
Exactly. And Andrew Risenfeld, looking back on his time at DocuSign, brings up this really critical technical concept he calls context graphs.
Context graph. That sounds pretty technical. Can you break that down?
Sure. Think about a huge company like Cisco. In your CRM, you might have records for Cisco Systems, Cisco Meraki, Cisco California. Riesenfeld calls it the 18 Ciscos problem. A human knows that's all the same company.
But a database doesn't.
A basic database sees 18 different companies. Yeah. And without what's called entity resolution, the ability to connect those dots, your AI treats them like total strangers. It might pitch Cisco Meraki like they've never heard of you, even if you have a massive deal with Cisco Systems.
That's just embarrassing.
It leads to what Riesenfeld calls expensive autocomplete. You're generating text, sure, but you're not generating value because the AI doesn't understand the relationships in your data.
Expensive autocomplete. That is a stinging line, but it feels so accurate for a lot of what's out there.
It should be. And Sandeep Gulati breaks this down even more with his 7 layers of the LLM stack.
We probably won't list all 7, but what's the core idea there?
The core idea is that most leaders are only looking at layer 3, which is the model. They're asking, are we using GPT-4 or Claude? They think the intelligence is in the model itself.
But it's not.
But Gulati argues that trust is built way down in layer 1, your data sources, and layer 2, pre-processing.
So the model's the brain, but layer 1 is the memory it's working with.
Exactly. A genius brain with false memories is just going to hallucinate. So the advice for leaders is stop asking what can AI do and start asking which layer of our data stack is the weakest. Because if your layer 1 is a mess, your application is just going to be a very efficient way to annoy your customers.
That's a powerful way to frame it. So we've got the agents, the SDRs, the data plumbing. Where is all this heading? Let's look at 2026 and beyond.
The landscape is definitely changing, and we're seeing new roles pop up. Brendan Short highlights this fascinating trend, the rise of the GTM engineer.
GTM engineer, go-to-market engineer. Is that a marketer who codes or a dev who sits in sales?
It's increasingly a developer sitting inside the revenue org. Someone who can actually build these systems we're talking about, connect the APIs, set up the agents, and Short links this to the idea of micro-campaigns.
How is that different from what we do now?
Well, right now, we build these massive lists, right? 10,000 people, blast them over a month. A micro-campaign is a super targeted list of, say, 50 to 250 contacts that's only valid for maybe a week. It's based on a specific buying signal.
Like they just hired a new VP of sales or installed a competitor's tech.
Exactly. High speed, high precision, and the cost efficiency is wild. George Vitko did a cost breakdown that's going to make some CFOs really happy. A traditional Model 5 SDR's legacy tech that costs about $48,000 a month.
Okay, sounds about right for a team that size.
Versus the 2026 model.
Yeah.
1 GTM engineer plus the AI infrastructure. The cost, around $23,000 a month.
Wow. Half the cost.
Half the cost for potentially much better results because of that precision. That creates a huge strategic gap between the companies that figure this out and the ones that don't.
It does. But are companies actually figuring it out? I mean, broadly speaking.
That's the big problem. Adam Schoenfeld analyzed data from Lenny's podcast, which is a huge bellwether in the product world, and found something really telling.
What'd he find?
He just counted mentions of AI. In product and engineering topics, 588 mentions. In GTM and sales topics, only 58.
That's a 10-to-1 difference.
It is.
Yeah.
The product teams are surfing this wave, and the sales teams are just sort of paddling. Schoenfeld notes there's no cursor for sales yet. You know Cursor, the AI code editor?
Right, developers love it. It helps them write code way faster.
There's no real equivalent for GTM yet. The mindset in go-to-market is still lagging. We're still just trying to bolt AI onto old workflows instead of completely reimagining the workflow itself.
So it sounds like that GTM engineer role might be the key to bridging that gap.
I think so. They bring that engineering mindset to the sales problem. And this leads to one final, really crucial thought on defensibility from Vladislav Muzhalivsky.
Defensibility is a huge topic. Everyone's worried AI just makes everything easy to copy.
And Muzhalivsky says they're right. AI is killing what he calls feature moats.
Meaning just having a cool feature isn't enough to protect your business anymore?
Not at all, because code is cheap now. If you build a cool feature, your competitor can use AI to replicate the code in a weekend. So your defensibility doesn't come from features. It comes from workflow ownership and trust.
So if you're deeply embedded in how a company operates, like we talked about with those European tools managing the CRM, that becomes your moat.
That's your moat. It's about building a system that's harder to rip out than it is to copy. If your agent knows my business better than I do, I'm never leaving you.
That brings it all full circle, doesn't it? It's not about who has the flashiest AI. It's about who owns the workflow and who has the trusted data.
And who has the discipline to map it all out before they hit go.
So if we recap this whole deep dive, it feels like we've charted a path from chaos to structure.
I think so. First, we're moving from chatting with AI to deploying agents, but you have to map the workflow first. Like Carolyn Healy said, don't automate chaos.
Right. Second, AI SDRs can blow up your pipeline, but you have to watch out for the gluttonous pipeline, quality over quantity, and you need a human in the loop to avoid that 0.3% problem.
Third, your AI is only as good as your data. If you haven't solved the 18 Cisco's problem in your CRM, you are not ready for advanced agents. Fix layer 1 before you even worry about layer 7.
And finally, the future seems to belong to that GTM engineer, the person who can actually bridge the gap between the tech and the strategy.
It's a brave new world out there.
Here's a thought to leave you with. We talked a lot about efficiency and cost cutting today, but as AI makes average content and outreach basically free, the value of genuine human connection is going to skyrocket. So while you're building these agents, you should ask yourself, are you using them to replace human connection, or are you using them to clear the deck so you can actually have more of it?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it?
If you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on account-based marketing, field marketing, channel marketing, MarTech, go-to-market, and social selling. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.